Thank you. Secretary Sani Coloma, Secretary Cesar Purisma, Secretary Mari Montejo, former Director General Emmanuel Joel Villanueva, Ms. Didi Sitango, Ms. Julie Abdasa, Governor Muju Bataman, Mr. Bernie Vergara, Chairman, Vice Chairman Cristino Naget. Pagbigyan na po natin bukas o kasi magdedebo yung anak niya. Mga isang taon na ho siyang stressed. Mr. Mark Lapid, of course, Ms. Tessie Sicoson, the Bulong Pulungan awardees, members of the Bulong Pulungan core group, partners from the media and business community, fellow workers of government, honored guests, mga minamahal kong kababayan, magandang umaga po ulit sa inyo lahat. This is the last Bulong Pulungan that I will attend as president. And though Don is not here, I am sure there is one burning question foremost in your minds. Since it's perpetually asked, I think I have been trained enough to be confident to answer, especially given the fact that the answer is still the same. Mamimiss ko siguro ng konti yun. In all seriousness though, your annual Christmas gathering has always been an opportunity for me to engage friends and partners from the media. All of you are highly respected individuals na lang. May description kasi dito na baka hindi nyo type. Who are considered institutions in the industry. Baka hindi rin nyo type yun. But given that this group has a significant composition of women, you might suddenly find fault and turn negative if I describe you as the senior institutions. No? In lieu of that, let me then say that you are an exuberant group of journalists and media practitioners. And this is the more important part, filled with vitality and never-ending youthfulness. It is my hope that this sets the context for the kind of questions that you will put forward by and by. Ibig sabihin nun, sumisip-sip ako sa inyo, huli na natin pagtitipon to, baka sakali padalain na niyo yung mga tanong bilang Christmas gift na rin. Indeed, I have known the members of Bulong Pulungan as professionals who strive to have a balanced take on the issues of the day. You have constantly proven the belief that I have long held bad news is not the only thing that sells in our country, and that there is so much room to celebrate the daily triumphs of the Filipino. For all the hard work that you have put in to situate the news in its proper context, to report the right information at the right time, and to be as fair and focused as possible in giving the right angle of a story, please accept my gratitude and that of our countrymen. On a more personal note, if I may point out, just as Tita Didi stood by my mother during her administration, all of you present here have stood by us in encouraging our people to view things in a more positive, more inspiring light. In contrast to a few naysayers, you have not only given me a fair hearing, but you have also helped raise the level of discourse and awareness through your reportage. In the case of Tita Julie, it appears that she has gained a new audience with the latest movie of Chris, a film which I understand is based on your book. This much is true. All of us here witnessed the dark days of martial law and went through the lost decade under my predecessor. You saw for yourselves the sacrifices our countrymen had to undertake, as well as the suffering that in one way or another left a negative imprint on our national consciousness. But you have also seen firsthand the meaningful change that has taken place within our shores these past 5 years, a change that has truly transformed the mindset of our people from being apathetic to being participative and sometimes unreasonably demanding. There is so much good news and so many testimonies of success from our people, and you have played your part in advancing our message of hope that the Filipino is worth dying for, worth living for, and definitely worth fighting for. For the longest time, our countrymen, particularly those in the farthest and most neglected regions, saw government service as akin to an impossible dream. Now allow me to present to you what Daang Matuwid means, what it has brought to the lives of our countrymen, and what it is to them. Let's view these videos.
Barangay Butaw, Kalanasan na Payaw. Noon, pag may masakit sa aming lugar, ninadala namin sa ospital, binubuhat lamang. Marami pang namamatay sa gubat na pasyente namin. Dulot nito ng naglalakad namin na mahigit 2 araw. Punta lamang sa ospital. Pero ngayon, may kalsada na. Madali lang namin na ihatid mga pasyente namin sa ospital dahil sa may kalsada na niyadaanan ng kaiba-ibang sasakyan.
Provincial level po, kasamahan ng magsasaka, mangingisda, kababayenhan, at mga young farmers. Sariwa pa po sa alaala ko, bago maging presidente, si President Aquino. Kami pong mga maliliit na magsasaka at mangingisda, kabayanihan, kababainhan at IPs ay hindi po nakatanggap ng kahit ano po, flyer man lang na nakasulat ang mga programa sa nakaraang pamahalaan. Ay wala kaming natanggap kasi po sobrang palakasan at walang puwang sa mga mahirap. Na naging presidente po, ang President Aquino. Sobrang laki po ng pagbabago. Mula po sa hindi kami natulungan, kami po na ngayon ang tinatanong at nagsasabi kung ano ang aming karapat-dapat sa programa upang umangat ang antas ng aming kabuhayan. Kaya po, mula sa paging ayaw lumahok, taos-puso po kaming nakikialam, makipagtulungan sa pamahalaan, pinapatawag na po kami at maayos na kinakausap kung ano po ang pangangailangan namin at natugunan naman po. At naupo na rin ang mga leaders sa LDC at sa LPRAT ng BUB. Sa ngayon po, kami po ay nakakuha ng mahigit kulang 3 milyong pisong halaga ng proyekto. Katulad ng halimbawa, Halal Bakery, Bigasan Pinoy, Organic Feed Production, livelihood para sa mga tatay at nanay, at mga bangka para sa maliit na mangisda. Salamat po sa mga serbisyong nakararating sa amin. Salamat po, Mr. President, sa pakikinig niyo sa amin. Salamat po sa pag-alis ng aming kaba. Sa aming kaba, para sa aming kinabukasan. At taos puso kaming nanalangin na sana po sa susunod na maging presidente ng Pinas ay katulad po ninyo na may pananaw sa mga tao. At nang ipagpatuloy ang inyong mga nasimulan.
These are just some of many testimonials directly from the people. They, along with the rest of the population, will subject Daang Matuwid to a referendum in 2016. It is a campaign that I will personally lead, and I am mindful that there are those who will be relentless in making sure that they retake the reins of power. In effect, setting us back to the old days where personal gain rather than public interest held sway over governance. They are the same individuals who cannot afford another defeat. Still, there are others whose intentions are belied by their propensity for offering the moon and the stars, without actually putting forward any sort of context or plan for our collective future. In short, there are those who are certain about their ambition, but are much less certain about its implications on the rest of the country. All of you are veterans and luminaries in the world of media. Throughout every election, you have probably seen every possible character the false prophets, the wannabe messiahs, the corrupt patrons, and the well-intentioned but ultimately ill-equipped candidates. In May, however, for the first time in memory, there is a valid call to continue the upward trajectory of our country. We finally have someone selling a vision with a track record that proves that this vision is not only achievable, but very much probable through the continuity of reform. We can now legitimately put forward to our people their dreams do not have to expire after only 6 years. I trust that as exemplars of your profession, you will continue to do your part to speak the truth and deliver our message of hope, not only in the next 6 months, but even long after I leave office. It is that very message that enabled all of us to stand up against the dictator in 1986, dismantled the system of lying, cheating, and stealing in government in 2010, and in turn laid the foundations for a Philippines that now works, a country where no one is left behind. It has indeed been an honor for me to participate in Bulong Pulungan. It is an event that I will surely miss. I am now ready for your very easy, rigorously selected questions, which undoubtedly can serve as your parting gift this Christmas to me. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know about the easy and the light, no, but yes, you were right. And as you say, it's your love life is still Coke Zero, right? Okay. So that's out of the question already. I think the first one who wanted to ask a question is our brave male member, Pabso Sobrado of Manila Standard. Then you can raise your hand, girls over there.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Morning.
First of all, on behalf of my family and my friends, I'd like to thank you for having served the country very well for the past 6 years.
Thank you.
Okay, my question is actually two parts. First part is, after you have relinquished your seat to the next president, what's day one going to be like for you? And second part of the question is, which destination here or abroad have you always wanted to visit but never had a chance to because of your presidential chores?
Day one, I probably will get up sometime in the late afternoon. I will not read any newspaper. I will try to enjoy feeling no pressure whatsoever that day. Then of course I'll have to try and touch base again with the old neighborhood, get resituated, which probably means eating a lot of fast food in the neighboring areas. Hopefully not all of them in the same day. Okay. Which place would I want to go to? Just last night I was talking to somebody and I said, everybody in the Philippines will probably have a Bora experience. Hopefully it's still an experience I can experience. And it has not, it's in Bora, Panglao, any place in the Philippines. Let me contextualize that. One of the best pictures my mother ever had was of her really being at peace, walking in the beach in Bora.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
So, to be honest, I had the same opportunity, yung visit Bora, for a total of about 40 minutes. We had to inaugurate the Katiklan Airport's improvements. So they gave me an opportunity. So I have to confess, I saw Bora. Never got to the beach. Never got to the water. So
Good luck. I hope you get to do it soon.
hopefully that will be one of them.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President.
And stay for longer than 1 hour. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. Julie. You want your question to be the last. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Rina. All right. Rina Jimenez David of Inquirer. Sir Thelma sends her regrets. I think she was involved in a long meeting last night, and so she's missing it today.
Question na rin na last year ang nakaka-thought-provoke.
Well, I hope this also provokes you. No, I just wanted to know, regardless of who wins next year, what role do you see for yourself? Will you be a critic, fiscalizer? Will you be a supporter? Or will you just stay out of politics altogether?
Yeah, one would hope that the person who replaces me does such a great job that there is no need to criticize, no, or to fiscalize. I guess I inherited it also from my mother. I'm really not one for unsolicited advice. No, so I would rather not. I would not want to put my successor in the same situation of having to deal with a lot of times well-meaning, but unfortunately not very good advice. Again, like any citizen, if called upon to help, no, why shouldn't we? But as much as possible, I will pray for the successor that he really builds upon the successes that we've had already, and therefore we can go from strength to strength.
So is that the promise you are making to whoever becomes the next president, that you will keep your counsel to yourself?
But so long as it's in the proper context, that they are really building upon that which has already been, the foundations have been laid. If they go in the opposite direction, then hopefully it will not get to that. But we hope that we will still do that which is right all the time.
Thank you and Merry Christmas.
Merry
sir.
Christmas again.
Joanne?
Merry Christmas, Mr. President.
Merry Christmas.
As your nephew Miguel Abeliada was waiting for his bride at the altar, what thoughts run through your mind? Is it part of your future plans as well, now that a future fiancé need not have to bear the burdens of a president's wife?
First of all, when my nephews, nieces, and I'd like to think we're all very close. No?
Yes.
Being the only unmarried one, I think they can look at me as an elder that is not a parent.
Yeah.
So he was telling me how sure he was, especially after he went abroad for a short while. I guess what I want to say is I really found the whole experience. I was living his life vicariously.
Oh.
He went for it. His fiancée then was posted in Myanmar. He surprised the fiancée with a proposal by arriving in Myanmar a day earlier.
Wow.
So that whole thing, binidyo ng friends. My nephew had a lot of conspirators na friends of his wife. No? You could see really the intense happiness in both their faces. When they were very much younger, sorry napahaba ng tanong, but it really brought about so many memories. My mother told me to bring them to, I think it was Mega Mall. To Mega Mall. On the way to Mega Mall, there were the three of us, Jiggy, Miguel, and myself. I think they were high school at that point in time. I was driving for them. And I think it was Jiggy who said, Tito Rem, palagay mo mauna, baka may kasal sa'yo. And I was more stressed then with that question. And I almost pulled to the side to give them pamasahe. Sabi nga, ito, pero umuwi na kayo. Ilalabas ko na lang kayo, pe-pressure pa niyo. But nangyari na nga. But I'm really glad, no? And I'm really happy. And in the sense, perhaps no, even our family is entitled to perpetuate the next generation. So we're close to that. Now, do I have plans? I've always had plans. Siguro when I have more time, now I'll be able to go to St. Jude a lot more often. Might help.
So hope springs eternal.
While we're alive, everybody should have hope.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Who else on that table? Boom, did you want to ask Mr. President? Yes.
Boom, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year na rin.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I have a very, very simple question. I just would like to know, with regards to the season, what is your most important lessons learned from your parents, both from Ninoy and Cory?
Especially during the martial law years, we were in effect detained with my dad. The whole family was allowed to, lalo in latter part, to stay with him. So, si Chris, I think, used to say, para tayong John and Marcia. Because we were all together in the cell. And perhaps it emphasized the fact that it is not that easy to be with family at this particular time, especially in our country, with roughly about 10% of the population outside of the country. and how it is really important to be with your family and touch base and really just spend time, with each other. So perhaps the most peaceful moments, parang the best periods really, where we were together, whether here or in exile in Boston. And I don't know, parang as you get older, that ability to stay bonded, connected with your closest siblings or parents is really such a treasure. I guess that's the most important thing for me for the season.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Joy? Dominic, yes. Ladies first. Dominic Torrevillas of Star. Mukhang seryoso itong question na to.
Merry Christmas, Mr. President.
Merry Christmas.
If the Constitution allowed it, would you run for president again? Why yes, and if no, why not?
Well, there's one side of it that says there are things that are left unfinished. No? There's a small side that wants to say, I want to inaugurate the SLEX NLEX connectors. I want to ride the MRT with more the more trains, the 48 or so that are coming in already. Make sure that yung CCT program really produces the results that we're asking for. But there's so many things that will always be left almost done. But the other side naman looks at the human cost. I keep saying, I try to imagine my sisters' faces and my nephews, my nieces, when they say, another 6 more years. There is an office right outside my own office, which is peopled by a lot of my staff who have been with me for quite some time, and all of them are. Let me point out one. Si Jun Delantar, for instance, raised in Capiz, grew up in Capiz, took up his law here, and is really looking forward to going back to Capiz. So there is a human cost to the things that are being wrought. And it's really kind of hard to ask all of these people to continue sacrificing. And if it were allowed and I continued in office, it really would. That's the part that I couldn't ask all these people around me. You've been with me through all the ups and downs, the tense times, the sometimes pleasant times, and can you still do it for another 6? Now, the more professional side says there has to be an ability to train the next generation. There has to be continuity that doesn't rest on one individual or one group. So I think the true measure of a success, and I'd like to subscribe to that idea, is your ability to train your successor. Hopefully that will happen. And staying, like show business, you shouldn't stay forever and ever, or you shouldn't hope to stay forever and ever. There will always be somebody who will be, I guess, fresher, more energetic, less jaded, less cynical, that can infect so many others to get us to a higher level sooner. Right? So I guess the best answer is there are a lot of mixed feelings. If to do so, I'd like to think it would be in performance of duty, but at the same time, there really has to be that focus that entering something should also carry with it the plan of leaving it and having the next generation ready to take over.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Dominic. Ms. Chai. Ms. Chai Santiago.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Morning.
I just want you to know that I thank you. When I turned 60 years old, you treated me in Manila Hotel. You were not yet president. Thank you very much. I have pictures that I'll give them gifts. They're my gifts to you. And pictures of us. My question is, after 6 years, I'd like to know your thoughts on 3 things. People power, media, and who is Benigno Aquino III now?
People power. At the end of the day, I think you will notice a common thread in all the speeches I've ever given, whether here or abroad, that I say I had the courage to do what had to be done because I sincerely believe that the people were behind me. So I'd like to hope also that in return, I have helped in empowering our people so that they are able to take more active control of their future, that they really have a stake in where this country is going, that they feel connected to the fortunes of this country. And ito medyo uncomfortable ako na konti, tatas ang makon dating sa akin. But I'm really so pleased about the decrease in the number of OFWs. There is a study that says at least about 400,000 of our countrymen have come back home and have found meaningful jobs. And when you ask what's the proof of meaningful jobs, the unemployment rate has continued to drop. It's 5.7. The other figure that I'm really so pleased about is yung out-of-school youth. 2008 it was 2.7 million. It's down to 1.2, despite the fact na merong increase in population. Okay. Sorry. Second question. Media relations. Professor David had an article recently where he stated, and I said this to the Inquirer party the other night, government and media have a mutually... I might be misquoting him. Something like, no, it's not adversarial. But he really praised it so well. Something to the effect that, si June is so efficient. He said, let me just go two things though. This is an article entitled President Aquino in the Mass Media. And he was trying to comment on my speech before the FOCAP. In the third paragraph, he says, interestingly enough, the media ignored his main speech and focused instead on his answers to questions in the open forum. If I had not gone to the government's official website to check out the text of the president's speech, I would not have guessed its topic from the news report. Okay. The first line is the line that I really found so appropriate and seems to be so true. The relationship between the government and the media in modern society is almost always one of mutual irritation. and I really, hopefully it's not, but I really think this is such a nice article. It really encapsulates all. Randy David. It says 12:34 a.m. October 29, 2015, but it came out in PDI. Okay. Last question. Who's Benigno Aquino III? No. I was looking at the mirror the other day. I was trying to decide whether or not I had more hair now or less hair. But all seriousness, I'd like to think I've also grown as a person, that I've actually, some of the challenges we've had to face we didn't imagine. For instance, huwag ko na muna sabihin yung baka mangyari. Pero, di ba parang tradisyon natin parati may Christmas. Ilang Christmas yung nilampasan namin dahil meron tayong inaasikasong sakuna nangyari. I tend to be a person who prepares for the worst but hopes for the best. And some of the challenges were really, Pablo, for instance, no? You go to Davao Oriental, and as far as the eye can see, there's not a single coconut tree left standing. And everybody depends on coconut for their livelihood. Then the coconut needs 5 to 7 years to grow. What do we actually do with all of these people for the next 5 to 7 years? And lo and behold, yung Cora Malañaon does not talk about yung increased poverty in our province. No? She talks about, to a degree, parang rising inflation raw. I mean, there's so much cash awash in terms of the rebuilding that's going on and the livelihood opportunities. They have a product actually called, it's pepper. They turn it to powder form. It's a crop that is mature in about 4 months. And the beauty of it was, they actually called it Hot Pablo after the typhoon, because that was the impetus to plant it. For an investment of 90,000 per hectare, they grossed over 200,000 per hectare and had a net of plus thousand per hectare, compared to coconut, which was producing 20,000 per hectare per annum. So that encapsulates in a sense of every time we had the problem, there also were opportunities that came about. And you have that can dramatically increase the standards of living in the area. Joel's work with TESDA, where do we get actually the jobs? That was the main route towards empowering our people. So how many people have they trained? From 28.6, if I remember, placement rate, it's now an average of 72%. Now, placement rate, which is defined as a job within 6 months from graduation. Well, from looking for jobs for people to now saying na there are so many graduates of DESTA who make more than I do right after graduation. So, siguro a major difference would be, I think I'm a bit more optimistic now of what this country and our people can do. And that we can do it really rather quicker than what was imagined. Things that I felt before were close to impossible. Now more and more I'm convinced it's just a matter of time to achieve all of these things that we have to do. And perhaps I was asked, I was talking to the media at one point, sabi ko, pag mayroong mga ibang tao na nahindigan sa kanilang pinaniniwalaan, sabi niya may prinsipyo. Pag ako na nahindigan ako sa pinaniniwalaan ko, sagot niya, hard-headed ako. So, hopefully that also helped in having a higher level of discourse in things that affect this country. So, I'm glad that, I'm really glad and I'm really so honored to have been given this opportunity with something like 203 days, I think, remaining. Of course, we're not counting. I can, even at this point in time, one can really look back and say, I think we've surpassed the expectations of those who believed in us from the start and have stood by us all this time. And I think even the numbers, when you look at the survey results, I have more supporters now than when I actually won in 2010. And I'd like to hope that there'll be more, but not necessarily for me, but rather for the principles that we have stood for. That is really empower the people, and that is the main route towards our advancement as a people.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ida Sevilla of Inquirer.
Greetings, Mr. President. Your administration has achieved many good things, but there are still some things to be done. Now, what do you consider your biggest achievement, and what would you tell your successor if he's your chosen candidate to continue or to try to finish?
In answer to the second question, I think that it is the Americans who are fond of saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, I guess, you want to, but government wants to do so many things. There are so many rules, laws, etc. that have to be complied with. For instance, when we want to procure anything, you are lucky to get what you want to procure in 6 months. And sometimes in the back of my mind, when suppliers quote you prices, do they factor in what they think the prices will be 6 months hence instead of what the current price is? There is that, and I think my cabinet will tell you that I keep on pushing them to do everything yesterday. So perhaps that will be one piece of advice on how to navigate the bureaucracy. And of course, in continuation, it encompasses so many things. For instance, we now have salary standardization law 4, and its basic goal is to bring government salaries more in line with that of the private sector. The underlying premise is, how do we get good people if we cannot compensate them adequately? How do we encourage them to join government service and stay in government service? So the starting salaries are supposed to be higher than the private sector. But once you get promoted, the gap widens and widens. So you get them compensated properly, you afford all of the avenues for the training to get even more professional. The question is kind of difficult because there's so really, if we went to all of the details, it might take us 1 week. Actually, I'm thinking of all of these things in the transition. When we are asked by the incoming administration what should be done, what should be continued. But more than anything, if there was just one piece of advice, I think it's not to lose the ability to listen. We have this saying, there's so many graduates of AIM. So, graduates of AIM, yung mga ayaw iwanan yung mic who are so fond of their voice. So, I guess the best leader, especially in democratic countries, is one who has the ability to keep on listening and acting on the wants, the needs of his bosses, which are the electorate, which are the people who put him into office. I guess in essence that would be it. Don't lose your ability to be able to really listen so that you can best serve your masters, which are the Filipino people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Joy Fong, but then asking for Thelma.
Good morning, Mr. President. Which among the projects and accomplishment of your presidency that you are most proud of and why?
I think it's not really the project or the programs, but really it's the mindset and the change in attitude of our people. And I don't know if you will agree with me. I think you can Google your articles prior to 2010, and I'm sure in the course of the year there will be at least 5 headline stories, meaning that the real head, top of the fold, that talks about people leaving the country and sub-stories of that. Why are they leaving the country? Success stories and failures abroad would also occupy a significant portion. As I stated kanina, we are getting, hopefully it will continue and it will accelerate, we're getting our citizens back. Of course, one of the stresses in this job is you don't really just have to handle the problems of Filipinos in the Philippines, but also the problems of Filipinos outside the country. Anytime there's something significant that happens, an earthquake, public disorder, an accident, the very first question I have to ask is, are any Filipinos involved? Your ability to, we have something like 64 posts or embassies across the world. Do we have, what is the nearest post to wherever this incident happened? So, we have just finished APEC, and to a large part, I think a lot of people are beaming with pride that we can successfully host such a big meeting with so many luminaries, entrusting their safety to us. When you look at the developments in the countryside, the various BPO outlets being set throughout the country, not just in the urban areas. When you have local government officials telling you about the change in before begging for each and every project, now saying that they're having difficulties coming up with their counterparting funds because there's just so much activity. Again, it goes back. I really think we as a race have so many things to be proud of. And before, perhaps it was a distant memory, now it's an active reality. And there's a single legacy, that change in attitude in roughly about 5 years. We can solve our problems, we can achieve so many things. It's, I guess, if I played a part in achieving that, it's, I guess, the best legacy.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you,
Merry
Mr.
Christmas.
Fong. Yes. No, go ahead. She's the representative of Thelma.
Nico.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
This is a question from Ma'am Thelma. What do you say to critics who harp on the fact that your administration underspent and thus didn't build the infrastructure that should have been built early on to cope with the economic growth?
Medyo maraming mali doon sa tanong yung could have been built early on. Don't forget, we had something like, Cesar, tama ba? 6.8% of the budget in 2010 that was left. When we entered office, we had the measly 6.8%, what I call improgrammable. We had the right to put into so many things. Okay? And rather quickly, we had that issue with North Rail. No? Was it that year or the following year? Following year, we had to pay close to $400 million. Okay? Now, so yung infrastructure, my predecessor had 9.5 years to do all of that. So first, you had to get the resources. Second, you had to plug, simultaneous na ito, kaya wala na yung 1, 2, 3, no? Plug all of the loopholes. You spend, it winds up in somebody's pocket, you don't produce anything. Wala na yung, di ba? What was our fear then? Dati baka there was leakage of 20%. You had all of the horror stories, probably read in your paper also, of projects na hindi na 20% leakage, 100% leakage yung kiniklaim ng iba. Okay, so, correct the system, map out the things that really have to be done, and I guess it was probably by 2012 that we were really ready. No? Yung 2010's budget was already ongoing. In 2011 budget was already submitted to a large degree. No? We submitted it, but it was not our work. 2012 was our first real budget. You know, it's funny, we should have done this infrastructure earlier because there was a candidate in next year's elections who was saying the cause of all traffic is because of all the infrastructure that is being done. Okay. Now, wanting to do something and being able to do it are not exactly the same things. For instance, no, yung connector roads, there should have been portions of it that I could have inaugurated, but there has been delays. Amongst them there is a law, I think it's under the BOT, Build, Operate, Transfer law, that says government infrastructure projects cannot be issued a TRO on. So what the government is supposed to do is put a deposit or put in escrow with the court the value of the land that is being expropriated or the property being expropriated. Okay. The new avenue, and fortunately the Chief Justice was made aware of this, and they have told the lower courts na hindi pwedeng TRO, but there is a question on valuation, the proceedings drag on and on and on, and government cannot take possession of the same and build the infrastructure until that is resolved. So when the Chief Justice was made aware of this, she informed all of the lower courts that in effect that is a TRO, which is not sanctioned by the law. And there has been movement, parang napabilis. But yung processes in the judiciary also. Perhaps this is a classic question of half empty or half full. When you say we're late, siguro I can, if I were being sarcastic, the connector roads were promised by Marcos in 1976. In 1976, I was still in high school. Probably by 2017, most of it will already be operational. So I say, I never promised this, but I and my team built it. Now, are we late? Siguro even before we graduated from college, late na eh. Dahil pinangako nga sa atin, 76 eh. No? But it's there. And we're not having one, we're having two. No? And then, so many other infrastructure. Pag infrastructure, pag-usapan natin, look at yung Halaur, the phase 2. Frank Drilon tells us it was first proposed in 1960, the year I was born. Yung Lulutang Bridge was 1995 nasira. No? 20 years. Nobody took care of it. We inaugurated it already. I can go on and on. But the bottom line is, we didn't have the wherewithal when we started out. We had all of the debts, none of the resources. We had a system that perhaps never punished the corrupt and therefore encouraged so many corrupt individuals. We had the responsibility to make sure that we were not throwing good after bad, para more resources and para enhance the leakage. So, that brought about in 3.7, I think, growth in the first year because we really had to make sure. But now there is that confidence that to a large degree, so many systems, procedures are being corrected that I challenge anybody, go to any LGU and ask them what is the difference between meeting your needs now and before. Sorry, I really still feel uncomfortable about praising our work. I think that should be left to the observers.
Sir, and last question. What do you say to two allegations that you dangled 1.5 billion worth of projects to lawmakers just so they would have a quorum and pass the BBL, and also that your endorsement doesn't really matter according to one survey?
Two questions na yun.
Can I answer the second part? When people start talking about my endorsement, I think that is in itself testimony that there is value to that endorsement. Di ba? Kung it has no value, why bring attention to it? Okay. Yung dangling the projects. I think I read in your paper, an opposition congressman saying, pinatawag kami, pinag-usapan kami, wala namang pamaskong binigay sa amin. No? Yung pamasko, maski Christmas card siguro. I assume meron naman akong Christmas card somewhere down the line, bibigay sa kanila. But that has not been the style. And ask anybody who was there. No? I never promised anything besides the appeal that in passage of the BBL, we do have a chance to change the narrative. Whereas yung not passing it continues the status quo. And that was the central message. Nothing more to it, nothing less. Thank you.
Okay. On this table, Miss Julie, we will end it now. Ducky, did you want to ask a question from the President? Sandy, go to this. Sandy, my daughter wants to ask.
Merry Christmas, Mr. President.
Merry Christmas.
And good afternoon po. And thank you for coming to Bulong Pulungan all these years. My question, sir, is what are the 3 things you will remember about your presidency? And what are the 3 things you want the Filipinos to remember about your presidency?
I think there's just one thing. Going into it, I had an occasion to watch my mother's work at a distance, so I assumed I had some knowledge of the workings of Malacanang and the demands of the presidency. But having even that inkling was not enough for all of the challenges that we had to surpass. At the end of the year, Christmas season, when you want to relax, when you're most joyous, most festive, we had a lot of the most difficult challenges, approaching it. Yung Pablo, Sendong, si Yolanda, si Zamboanga, si Bohol earthquake. I never thought that there'll be an occasion where it really was improper to commemorate this most festive season for the country. But why did I bring that up? I guess look at Yolanda, having to take care of 1.4 million households, people at the time, feed them daily, ensure that nobody gets sick. When everything was, electricity was down, water was interrupted, transportation was at a standstill, yung first responders themselves were part of the victims. And one would have hoped we could do a lot more, but I don't think anybody actually saw a challenge on that scale affecting 44 of our 81 provinces. Now, if we look at all of these things that we've had to undertake, I'd like to be able to, I'm hoping that people will say, look at the challenges that we had to undergo as a people and how we overcame them. And if there's a future challenge, then perhaps they'll be able to say, we will also surmount this in the same way that we managed to surmount that which we thought was insurmountable. Personally, whenever I feel that there's such a big challenge before me, I go back to the challenges before my father and my mother. And I also am able to say, what is this compared to what they had to do? For instance, my dad had no access to media. Had very limited access to any people in the 7 years, 7 months that he was incarcerated. But he had to deliver the message, passing it through mimeograph sheets, Xerox sheets, word of mouth. I think his efforts and his actions contributed to the point that we got an EDSA. And he said something like, I think he was quoting the Bible, if the time is not right, 1,000 prophets do not make a difference. But if the time is right, not a single prophet is necessary. And when you look at the culmination, which was EDSA, you really can see that. Yeah. Now, sorry, Sandy, what was the second part of the question?
The second part was, what would you like the Filipinos to remember about your presidency?
yung nandun na naman sa level kasi nagtataas sa sarili mo. Talaga hindi ako comfortable. But sana, yung they gave me an opportunity and I helped enable them to reach their potentials. There is a continuity. There is a, I keep saying, everything that is happening is not because of me or my cabinet. It's happening. It has happened because the people willed it. They have charted the present and the future. And so they are not powerless to affect their fate. They are, in fact, the prime movers towards determining their fate. I hope that is the lesson that was really stressed. People power is a reality, and it can really be used for the good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Julie?
If I'm hesitating with the answers, I'm really having so many images crossing my mind.
Yes,
it's starting to reminisce.
Yes, thank you.
I will have a follow-up to that question, sir. What are the 3 things you'd like to forget?
During the presidency?
Yeah,
Yeah,
during
okay.
the last 5.5 years.
Well, meron mga, minin natin, meron mga talagang sumusulat na may agenda, nagsasalita na may agenda. Yung kahapon may nag-text na was saying that there was an airplane accident of SLEX. And it was a hoax. No? And
oh my gosh. Okay.
But I was just commenting to the person I was with. How does one derive satisfaction by causing anxiety? Yeah. What a perverse mind to do something like that. Now, again, I go back to the main point. There's pare-pare naman tayo nakikita natin critics ko who have never, if they say something nice about me, I will probably faint. No? And I have to ask, bakit masama loob mo gumanda yung ekonomiya natin? Bakit masama loob mo ganito karaming 4.4 million families are being assisted by Pantawid? Bakit masama loob mo na modernize na tayo na ating armed forces? Bakit kailangan paggising mo sa umaga, paano ba ako babanat? Hindi ba tayo pare-parehong Pilipino na itong bangka natin Hindi ba natin obligasyon pagandahin to sabay-sabay? Hindi ko sinasabing purihin mo naman ako kaliwat kanan. Hindi disservice rin yun. Pero siguro naman may nagawa akong maski papanong tama in these 5 years. Close to 6 years. Pero there are some people who have closed their eyes and there's no sense of responsibility to the other. And if they write, if they're a broadcaster, etc., people gave them that opportunity and they could have used that opportunity for the common good. Why is it such an alien concept to promote the common good? Perhaps might also fill me up with negativity. Kung isipin ko pa sila. I'd like to forget them. Of course, I ignore them now. No?
Good for
Pero
you.
kung pwede ma-kompleto, ma-forget ko na rin sila.
Good for you. And now to my question.
Yes, ma'am.
I promised you it won't be hard because I can't imagine that we invite you to celebrate Christmas with a party and then we make you work, we make you stand, we make you answer serious questions. So these ones are very easy. This is an either-or, a series. How do you enjoy reading? You read from a book or a screen?
Book.
Like me. Are you cheerful? Are you a cheerful person or a brooding type?
I like to think mostly cheerful.
Oh, I don't think so.
I brood by myself.
Yeah.
In public, I have to be very cheerful.
Good. And I think you're cheerful when you're with us.
A lot of time. Although I miss the Christmas bands, the hats. Dadalaw na lang kayo nakasuot ng Christmas. Dati lahat naka-Christmas hats.
Ako na lang po.
We don't want you to remember us as looking silly. Number 3, are you a doer or a procrastinator being in government? With all the red tape and the studies you have to scrutinize and read, the contracts you have to read.
No, I think the greatest sin is to delay in that service to our people. Parang I've said it publicly so many times. No, why delay the common good if you can do it now?
Okay.
You know, this was in relation to that. And finish, parang close the books, which was defined as March of the succeeding year before you can declare any savings. And the example I used was people living in danger areas. How many rainy seasons do they have to undergo if we already have money that can be used to put them in safer areas? That was the context.
Okay, next one. Be careful.
Pero not to do anything in haste also. No?
Yeah.
Appropriate study, make the right decision, implement as soon as possible.
And that's an order.
Actually, members of the cabinet are present. They'll tell you how many times I follow up things that induce a burr under the saddle for me.
This one is a nice one. Are you an introvert or extrovert? The Benigno Aquino III that we see has to be an extrovert.
Compared to Chris, I'm an introvert.
That's a nice one. Next one. Are you a type A or type B? No, not blood. A type A personality or a type B? Type B, laid back. Type A, combative, impatient, aggressive, wants things done immediately.
Parang medyo, I think I'm one of the easiest persons to get along with. Pag kinausap mo yung cabinet ko, A+ raw. Yeah, Cesar, I think, was the one who said when I asked questions, it's like a thesis defense or orals. Sabi ko, but I'm always smiling and I'm so patient.
Yeah, I heard that.
Si Mario has a frown on his face. We were talking about El Nino and in the effects. Yesterday the question was, what is the degree of confidence that the predictions up to April of next year will be valid? Then he was explaining that we keep on updating every 2 weeks the modeling. So there is a high degree of confidence that what they're predicting will happen.
I was listening to you in my car radio for 3 hours when you were presiding over the disaster preparedness for Typhoon Ruby. And because of your detailed supervision of the council, or whatever you call it, disaster management, etc., etc.
Dream Sea.
Yeah, and because of that, the casualties was 6 or 16? You know? That was, I think, a big point. Next one. Are you a left brainer or a right brainer?
Si artistic at si analytic.
Yeah.
I have a complete brain rather than just segments of it.
Wow.
Analytic when I need it, but I think I can appreciate the arts to a degree. Okay. Perhaps not to the same degree as some of our more very active members of the cultural community.
Okay. This one you've already more or less answered. Pessimist or optimist? You said you're optimistic about what the people can feel that they can do, that they can overcome challenges and that the potential. Are you an impulsive shopper? Are you phobic to shopper? Never mind that Tessie is here. Or do you shop by the list, especially now that it's Christmas?
Baka
no shopping.
Pinapakinggan ng mga inaanak ko to. No, but normally when I used to go regularly, there was a purpose. I knew what I wanted.
Purposeful shopper.
What to get when. That doesn't mean I'm a good shopper. No? For instance, I have a long-time associate assistant who actually does the pre-shopping. You can find, I'm looking for a pair of pants. You say, you'll find it in such and such a store.
So you use a personal shopper.
Performs that as an additional function. Unfortunately, by the time I follow the advice, kasi sabi niya, the price is like this, I get that the price is double. Sabi ko, bakit nagkaganon?
Oh.
So sabi niya sa akin, saan sinabi ko sa inyo, sale eh. That was 1 month ago or 2 months ago.
Were you like that before you became president?
That was, yes.
Oh.
When I scrutinized the budget, again, Cesar will tell you talaga parang, when we were, our first trip abroad, Indonesia, we went on a budget commercial flight. And we were joking that the seats were adjusted already. Na parang they were very rigid. They seemed to be for first-year plebes at the PMA. Sabi ko, pag bumiyahe tayo Amerika o Europe na ganito sila, ano kaya tsura natin pagbaba? Para sabi ko, wala perang gobyerno. Ako, pagpasensya na muna natin, tiis tayo dito. So, when it comes to the people's money, I'm very, very particular as to why it has to be spent, how much is being spent, and what is the return on the investment. Ngayon sa akin nga, di ba? Para bang instead of hintayin yung next sale, nandun na ako, sa'yo naman pa, nandito na, bilhin na. Of course, pagkatapos sabi ko, kaya pag yung pera ng bayan talaga napakagaling mong bantayan. Pag yung pera ko, parang medyo parati akong napapagsamantalahan. You know, there's actually, I bought myself a lazy boy chair very, very long time ago. Close to a decade ago. Okay. Aminin ko na sa inyo lahat, no? Parang luxury item for me. So, tinignan ko, parang all the models. Actually, sinisilip ko rin yung price tag. Mahal pala nito. Until I finally got to the bottom of the line, which happened to be in blue. Sabi ko, tama-tama size nito, tsaka kulay na eskwela namin ito. Itong kukunin ko. So I bought it. 1 week later, nag-sale.
Aray.
Yung salesman na, sabi, sa lulu ko, okay ka naman. Hindi man lang ako binulungan, sir, next week na kayo bumalik, sale ka na. That's life. Pero since, next year, I'll have a lot more time to be a better shopper.
Right. Next one. I'm looking for my notes. Rain, Bora. I think that's about it.
Kanina pa ho sulat ng sulat.
Well, maybe just one tiny, easy question. There's a Malacanang ritual that when the new president will take over, you will have to fetch him or her.
No, the new president fetches the old president.
Then the president,
we ride together
goes to Malacanang. And then up to where?
No, we fetch in Malacanang, then you go to the inaugural site. In my case, it was a Aquino grandstand. Then the outgoing gets a final parang review, the honor guard. Leaves sometime around 11. Because the new administration has to take their oath before noon.
So there's no point when you're together in the car?
We are.
How many minutes? About how many
Travel
minutes?
from Malacanang to Aquino grandstand in my case.
What would you tell this guy or this person?
Congratulations.
Condolence or...
All of that.
Will there be time for a little chit-chat? Does it feel very formal that, this person is not your friend or maybe not your friend?
In my case kasi parang, di ba, I was with somebody who used to be my professor, my senior, I didn't want to put my parents to shame by being uncivil. Hopefully, no?
What did you talk about during those 10 minutes?
I don't exactly remember what, but what I distinctly remember was a lot of people were waving at us and she was waving back at them.
And you?
I was smiling.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. There's one more. There's one more. He will not forgive me, Mr. Frank Evaristo, former president of the Rotary. Did you want to ask a question? Okay.
Merry Christmas, Mr. President.
Merry Christmas.
Sir, you have a good lineup of your senatorial candidates. What's the chances of your Liberal Party winning the senatorial candidates? You have a very good lineup.
I'm sorry, what was the question? The chances of the senatorial?
Chances, yes, of your senatorial candidates. You have a very good lineup in the Liberal Party.
If you, si Joe nakatingin ng gusto, tsaka si Mark nakatingin ng gusto. But if we look at 2013, we got 75%. And we got you know, yung the top slots. Yeah. Those who actually made it from the opposite camp, were, one was in the middle and the others were at the more or less tail end. So I think we are in, if we can claim, you know, we were starting out with the successes in 2013. Now, as you saw in the videos, and we have videos like this for every part of the country. We're not promising anything except continuation of the improvements that have been wrought. So these are testimonials that will be run throughout the country, which will say, these are concrete manifestations of what Daang Matuwid is, as opposed to what Daang Matuwid can be. And I think that message will propel our candidates to even better performances.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evaristo. Just my question, sir. Do you have a question? Ms. Beth? Ms. Beth Taglish is part of our advisors group. Will you consider painting like your mom?
Hanggang sa appreciation lang ho yata ako. I had mediocre grades in my art classes, in high school in particular.
Thank you, because if you do, I have your #1 buyer here, Mr. Wilson Cheng. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. May I be allowed the last question, sir? Sir, what do you want to be doing this Christmas? Will you be in Baguio, with the family, in Luisita, or what?
Baka mas kaya ko sagutin sa negative. Hopefully, I will not be attending to some emergency come this Christmas season. That we will all have a joyful, peaceful, and family-centered Christmas.
Would you like to give us your Christmas message, sir?
Well, the goal has always been really to serve the Filipino people, and especially at this point in the year, you really want a united family, an opportunity to be with each other, and really firm up the connectedness with each other. And hopefully we will be able to afford that atmosphere, that really this is the time for reunions, this is the time to bond with each other and also commune, siyempre, with God. And we are re-energized for all of the challenges in the coming years. And I have to actually video the Christmas message and New Year's message sometime this week.
Yes, sir. And our Christmas wish for you is that you have a very Merry Christmas with the family. What is your Christmas wish for the country? A peaceful, just a recap.
Peaceful, calm, optimistic Christmas facing the new year. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the President has granted some photo ops, sir.
Okay.
Can I call all the awardees? All the awardees, please.